Hey, my name is Wilson Campbell. I'm the founder of Remote Work Life, the Remote Work Life podcast. And I just really wanted to say a happy new year to you, wherever you may be in the world. I really appreciate you and I thank you for listening to the Remote Work Life podcast. And if you're new to the podcast, please subscribe. Please leave me a rating if you feel this content has been useful to you. But more than anything else, thank you for listening. And as I said, all the best for the year ahead. And in today's episode, I just really wanted to give you just a brief breakdown, I guess, as to how the podcast started, in case you're either new to the episode or in case you've not gone as far back to the very first episode to kind of hear about how it all got going. So I started working remotely back in 2008, 2009, but it wasn't until quite recently that I realized that remote work is no longer an alternative, but a norm. So after spending years working remotely, I wanted to share my experience, my knowledge and insights with the remote work community. And also I wanted to find out more about the remote work community. So in 2019, I started this podcast as a platform. I started Remote Work Life, in fact, as a platform. It began with the Remote Work Life Summit, where I was interviewing CEOs and leaders in the world of remote work. So those people who know the world of remote work best, because I wanted to learn from them. And then the podcast grew from there, and I got to interview even more leaders, even more CEOs and experts who themselves, they either knew about the world of remote work or were navigating the world of remote work themselves. So today I want to share, as I said to you, a bit more about my journey of creating the actual podcast and what I've learned so far. So initially, the idea of starting a podcast was to connect with these workers and these leaders that I described and share also my own experiences of working remotely and the tips that I've gleaned from not just my own sort of experience, my own sort of setbacks, my own successes, but also tips that I've learned from people who work remotely as well. If you don't know, my experience is as a coach and as an executive recruiter. So part of the tips that I share and have shared and want to share in the future are related to the world of hiring, in the world of recruitment. So I'm hoping to share that with you in the future. But I always found it easy to learn from other people's experiences, rather than just reading articles or watching generic videos. So as I said, I these CEOs and these leaders of remote companies, they didn't just spring from nowhere. I had to put in the work. So I had to start reaching out to CEOs and to leaders and experts and ask them to be guests on the podcast. That was no mean feat in itself, but it all happened and it all worked out in the end. And for the first few episodes, I simply recorded some of the actual interviews or some of the actual monologues that I did with myself, obviously, using my smartphone and a relatively inexpensive microphone. Now, the sound quality wasn't great, but I focused more on the content and gradually improved my recording equipment as time went on and as people started to show interest in the podcast. As I started recording more episodes, I discovered something which is quite fascinating. I realized that remote work is not just a trend, but it's a lifestyle for many people. Each guest had their own unique story to tell. And I was fascinated to hear how they navigated their remote work experiences. And I'm still, to this day, fascinated to hear how people are doing just that. So I'm committed to creating a supportive community and helping remote workers stay connected with the latest trends in remote work. And now that I've reached more than 170 episodes and podcasts, I've started to attract quite a diverse audience. And that's reflecting the global interest in remote work. I invite you to join me on this journey of learning and growth as we navigate the evolving landscape of remote work, and we want to do that together. I also started building relationships with industry experts as well, the more time went on, because these episodes turned into conversations. The conversations turned into follow-up meetings, follow-up conversations, and I've made some really great friends along the way. Also connected with other podcasters in the community as well, and that's been really good. Once I started partnering with others as well, I saw that not only were my ideas flowing more naturally, the podcast started to gain more and more traction. I saw an increase in listener engagement. More people started reaching out to me to be guests on the show. It encouraged me to continue to publish new episodes and explore new ideas to make each episode informative. The Remote Work Life podcast, as you may or may not know, discusses various benefits of remote work, including the flexibility that remote work gives. So remote work allows for more flexible work schedules. It enables individuals to better balance their professional and personal lives in many cases. It allows, for me at least anyway, and many other people that I know, it allows them to be more productive. So despite the shift of remote work, studies have found that productivity has not been deterred. And in some cases, it has increased. And as I said, from my own situation, I can say that with, I wholeheartedly sort of agree with that. So work-life balance, and my work-life balance has increased, and each person's idea of what work-life balance is different. So for me, my balance is definitely increased for the better, or it has improved for the better. The podcast, I try to address the potential for remote work to contribute to a healthier work-life balance and a healthier life in many cases, allowing individuals to better manage their time and reduce stress. Remote work enables greater global connectivity. So remote work provides the opportunity for individuals to connect and collaborate with others from around the world, contributing to a more diverse and inclusive work environment. And another benefit of remote work is personal growth. The podcast explores how remote work can support personal growth as individuals learn to navigate the challenges and opportunities of working in a remote environment. So these are just a few of the many benefits that not only I have experienced, but the people that I've interviewed and people that I speak to on a day-to-day basis also say that they experience as well. Over time, I've learned that starting a podcast for remote work is more than just pressing the record button. It's about creating a sense of community, sharing experiences, being supportive and empathetic about and asking the right questions, and where possible, providing insightful, value-led conversation. And I love hearing from listeners. So if you've got any feedback, any suggestions for me, please do get in touch. You can catch me more often than not on LinkedIn. So yeah, please do connect. And I'm always looking to connect with guests as well. So please also reach out to me via LinkedIn if you or someone you know would be a great guest for the show. And of course, making friends as well. As I said before, it's enabled me to make friends with people in countries that I haven't even visited myself. So that's just another great benefit of the remote work movement. So now I've started the podcast, I've also gone on to start the Remote Work Life Insider LinkedIn newsletter. In that newsletter, I'm going to share tips and advice for individuals looking to transition into remote work or improve their current remote work experience. I also aim to share job search tips and feature snippets from the podcast interviews that I've done with professionals from the various industries that they work in, and show how they've successfully navigated the world of remote work themselves. So listen out or look out for the Remote Work Life Insider newsletter on LinkedIn. That will be a bi-weekly newsletter. And also, please, yes, as I said before, continue to listen to the Remote Work Life podcast. Please subscribe. Please leave me a rating. That would really help me to spread the news, spread the good news, to spread the insight to different people who may be struggling or want to improve their situation where remote work is concerned. And once again, I wish you all the best for the year ahead.